Argentina, home of tango, Messi, and some of the best steak on earth. But it's also the country that gets called the whitest place in Latin America, and not always as a compliment. So today we're asking the question people argue about in comment sections worldwide. Is Argentina actually racist, or is it just widely misunderstood? Let's dig in. First, the stereotype. Ask anyone in Latin America what they think of Argentines, and you'll hear the same version of, they think they're European. And honestly, there's a reason that stereotype exists. Between 1850 and 1950, Argentina absorbed one of the largest waves of European immigration on the planet, over 6 million people, mostly from Italy and Spain. That's not a small footnote, that's a demographic transformation. And it wasn't an accident. Argentine leaders in the 1800s literally had a slogan, Gobernar es poblar, to govern is to populate. Statesman Domingo Sarmiento pushed hard for European immigration specifically because he believed it would civilize the country. His own words, that's not us being dramatic, that's 19th century Argentine policy. Which brings us to the darker chapter, the conquest of the desert in the 1870s and 80s. This was a military campaign that killed thousands of indigenous people and pushed survivors off their land, clearing the way for European settlers. The general who led it, Julio Roca, is still on Argentina's 100 peso bill today. Yeah, that's still a live controversy. So does that settle it? Argentina built itself on European replacement and indigenous erasure. End of story? Not so fast. Here's where it gets more complicated. Genetic studies actually show something surprising. Multiple studies estimate that over 50% of Argentines carry some indigenous ancestry, even people who identify as fully white. That mixed heritage just isn't always visible, spoken about, or claimed, which is a very different problem than no one has it. And Argentina isn't uniform. Provinces like Salta and Jujuy in the north have a large visible indigenous and mestizo populations. Culturally, they look more like Bolivia or Peru than the European postcard of Buenos Aires. The white Argentina image mostly comes from one city projecting itself as the whole country. Sound familiar? It's the same trap people fall into thinking of Brazil looks like Rio, or all of the US looks like Los Angeles. There's also a population history that gets erased, Afro-Argentines. In the early 1800s, up to a third of Buenos Aires was black or mixed race. War, disease, and yes, decades of being written out of the national narrative caused that population to nearly vanish from public memory. They didn't disappear, they were erased from the story Argentina told about itself. So, racist or misunderstood? Honestly, the fair answer is both, depending on what you're asking. As a matter of national mythology and historical policy, Argentina absolutely built an identity around whiteness, on purpose, with the real violence behind it. As a description of everyday people walking around Argentina today, it's a lot messier, more mixed, and more diverse than the meme suggests. And to be clear, everyday racism and discrimination do exist there, just like they exist in every country in the Americas. Some of the sharpest documented discrimination in Argentina isn't about black versus white. It's aimed at migrants from Bolivia, Paraguay, and Peru. That's a different axis of prejudice and the one most outsiders are even thinking about. And Argentina's not even unique here. Uruguay, Australia, and Canada all built similar blank slate immigration myths that erased indigenous history. Argentina just gets singled out more because of how loudly that European identity gets performed. Tango, soccer culture, and the whole aesthetic. So here's the actual takeaway. Calling Argentina racist flattens a real violent history into a meme. Calling it just misunderstood lets that history off the hook completely. The honest version sits in between, a country that built a whiteness myth on purpose, sitting on top of a population that's far more mixed than the myth admits. That tension isn't unique to Argentina, but Argentina's version of it is uniquely loud, uniquely visible, and uniquely unresolved. So what do you think? Was this a fair breakdown, or are we missing something? Drop your take in the comments, especially if you're from Argentina. We want to hear straight from you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.